Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I think you said a few minutes ago that the inflation that we got during the pandemic was not the inflation that you anticipated when you crafted the framework, and you described it as a collision of a lot of monetary and fiscal stimulus with these supply side hiccups. Does that mean the stimulus was mistaken, or is the inflation just a consequence of that we have to put up with because of that?
No, I'm not expressing any judgment about the stimulus in that comment. What I'm saying is there's a sense among some that you wanted inflation. This is what you wanted. How do you like it? And the truth is, this is not the inflation what we were talking about in the framework was inflation that comes from a tight labor market, right? So we had 3.5% unemployment for a period, and we had inflation that was just barely getting to 2%. And I think in that setting, our thinking was we can afford to wait to raise rates until we see actual inflation rather than preemptive, because no one had seen what 3.5% unemployment would look like with high labor force participation. By the way, no one had seen what it would really look like for an extended period for decades, and we didn't know what the inflationary implications were. Turned out there was barely 2% inflation and no sense that it was gaining momentum and that kind of thing. So we incorporated that into our framework. This is something completely different. That's a situation where you had a very, very high level of employment and low inflation. This is literally the opposite, or it has been the opposite, where we have very high inflation, and we've had it since the labor market was in terrible shape. It had nothing. So far, this inflation has really nothing to do with tightness in the labor market. It does have to do with strong demand, and strong demand was supported by the Fed. It was supported by Congress. I'm not making any judgments on Congress. It's not my job, but I will just say we're coming out of what we certainly hope will be a once in a lifetime, certainly historic, the first really global modern pandemic, which looked at the beginning like it might cause a global depression. And, so we threw a lot of support at it. And what's coming out now is really strong growth, really strong demand, high incomes and all that kind of thing. People will judge in 25 years whether we overdid it or not. But, the reality is we are where we are. And, we think our policy is the right one for the situation that we're in.